and welcome to EcoSamadhan, a podcast series presented by the YouTube channel Youth Success Sutras and a network of non-governmental organizations, Bharat Prakritik Samadhan Sangathan, founded by Dr. Nalini Mohan Denduluri. The primary aim of our podcast series today is to create awareness in public and especially the youth regarding the conservation of ecosystems, biodiversity and wildlife aggravated by climate change. Today we have with us Dr. Nalini Mohan Denduluri, a former Indian Forest Service officer with 35 years of experience. He has held many important positions both in the government of Andhra Pradesh and government of India. He holds a doctoral degree in forest governance and climate change in India. He is also a writer in scientific topics. In today's episode, we'll cover a topic, forests, our inherited wealth. With this, welcome Dr. Nalini Mohan. It's very inspiring to see your initiative and very happy to see how you have started this initiative to make sure that there's awareness in public and especially the youth to conserve by ecosystems, biodiversity and wildlife. We would love to hear more about what inspired you to start this initiative, please.
Good morning, Sunita. I am happy to be here today in this podcast series, and the way in which it started is that actually when I was preparing for civil services examination, I felt a lacuna in getting authentic and correct information regarding various concepts and phenomena which are happening in nature and biodiversity, forests, conservation. These things were very new at the time, and I always felt that if there was any source which can give me correct information so that I can understand the concepts properly and reproduce it whenever I want it and use it in the preparation for the civil services examination as well as my general career planning and personality development. So that's how I thought that there is a need for giving correct and authentic information in a simple and easily understandable manner so that the youth need not go around each and every book or source to find the real information which can be used as correct information in the interviews, etc. 10 years back, actually I have started thinking about this, and I wrote a small book called Youth Success Sutras. So in which I have explained the way in which the youth can prepare their preparatory activity for the civil services or any career in life, and also understanding the need for life skills and knowing them in the correct manner. So that book I have distributed to school children and college students, mostly free of cost, and about 78,000 books have been distributed. So in 2018, what I have done, I produced short videos based out of the chapters in the Youth Success Sutras book and given in the YouTube channel so that people can make use of it. Now in continuation of that, after serving in the government for 35 years and having spent my entire career in nature conservation, forest and wildlife development, biodiversity conservation, I thought that I should share this knowledge with the general public and more particularly the youth so that they have the access to the information which otherwise they may not get it. So that is the basic premise with which I started this series, and after retirement of my service in 2022, I started what is called a network of NGOs called Bharat Prakritik Samadhan Sangathan, wherein I am guiding a group of NGOs mostly located in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana states, and for which I am actually planning to expand it all over the country also in sooner or later. And then I guide them to take up nature based solutions to the problems faced in the society like plastic pollution, and wastewater recycling and waste management and then cleaning of the lakes and restoration of the natural water bodies and then endangered species conservation is another important aspect. We do it. So with all these ideas in mind, I started the Bharat Prakritik Samadhan Sangathan. Now I thought that I will share the knowledge and in the form of a series of podcasts named as EcoSamadhan. So that is the background and inspiration for me.
Sir, this is truly inspirational to see how you want to give back to society. So with this, sir, can you spend some time to explain the meaning on how we all should understand what this entire initiative is about, and particularly we would all be very excited to hear from you on how is it relevant in the present day context, please.
Right, very good question. Basically, so forests mean different things to different people, and many people consider, and some academic books write that a group of trees is called a forest, but it's not so. Actually, forest is a living ecosystem and it has got both living components and non-living components. The living components constitute all plants, all animals and all microorganisms which are present in the world. They constitute the biotic component, and non-living component is the earth, the air, the water and all the elements which are around, and the rainfall which we receive, the temperatures we get due to changes in the seasons. All these contribute to the growth of a forest, and they determine which type of forest or which type of ecosystem is likely to develop. So an ecosystem can be defined as a piece of forest area or water body or air. Even air is also an ecosystem wherein some biome is there, and then it is very specific to a particular location, and the characteristics of a particular location are actually reimposed on the biotic components also and abiotic components, and we see the net outcome. So we get what is called ecosystem services like clean air, which gives us oxygen for our life, and clean water, that is the elixir of life. So all life forms are dependent on the air and water which we get from the nature. These ecosystem services include the food, the medicines and the aesthetic value and the spiritual value. All these things come from the forest areas. We call them as ecosystem services. All this will come to the society and to the world relentlessly only if the ecosystem is in balance. So the balance of ecosystem is very important, and it is our responsibility to maintain the ecological balance. So in order to maintain the ecological balance, we must contribute our bit to protecting it, preserving it and saving it. So the natural forest system is supplemented by planting artificially trees and plants in other environments, and then create additional resources for harnessing the solar power, that is the sunlight, and converting into carbohydrates and storing them. So you may be aware that only plants have the capacity and power to absorb the sunlight using their chlorophyll and other pigments, and the primary source for carbohydrate production is the blue-green algae, which have that green material, and then the pigmentation is there, and they absorb the sunlight and they use it and to convert it through chemical processes into starch, and that is stored in the form of wood, fruits, leaves and roots. So that is utilized by the society. Both plants and animals are a part of the ecosystem, and they depend on each other, and they have a lot of interactions, and we don't see the interactions what is called visibly, but we can see the effects of their interactions. So the unseen innumerable number of interactions which happen in the ecosystem, they ultimately convert themselves into the what is called tangible benefits and intangible benefits what we get from the forest. So the forest is not just a group of trees, it's a live ecosystem, and it is our responsibility to consider it as a very valuable resource, and we must maintain it properly. That's it.
Thank you very much, sir. I have got a follow-up question to what you were explaining. While we're talking about protecting and preserving the ecosystems, I briefly understand there are some laws which guide
Yes.
how do we protect this. So I wanted you to help understand and explain what these laws are. Number one. Number two is, are these laws really adequate enough, right? Given all the challenges that are arising because of climate change. From your thought process, please.
Excellent, very good question. Basically, there are several laws which are there in the country. They were promulgated over a period of time after independence. In fact, even before independence also, the Indian Forest Act is 1927. Actually, it is made by the British people and it is still intact. So most of the principles based on which the Indian Forest Act has been formed, they are still relevant to a larger extent. So we are continuing with that. And then there are what is called, there is a forest policy which is 1988 given policy. It is called a new forest policy in which participatory forest management is the new concept which has been promoted by the Government of India, considering the role and responsibility the people have to play in protecting and preserving the forest wealth. The British regime considered people as the destroyers of forest, and because people have to be kept out of the forest, then only the forest will survive. That is the basic premise on which the Indian Forest Act has been formed, and forests are meant for protection only. So that the concept was changed and rewritten, because there are organisms in the ecosystem. Similarly, there are human communities like tribals and then aborigines who are living in the forest area, who depend a lot on the forest for their livelihood, for their everything in daily life. So the moment they get out from the bed, they go into the forest. In fact, they used to live only in the forest areas. Even now, most of the primitive tribes live in the forest area. So we need to take care of their livelihoods, their daily requirements and their future needs. But the forest is a limited resource. If we keep on exploiting the natural resources unlimitedly, and there is a day once we will not have any forest resource left. Had our forefathers thought that they wanted to utilize everything, we would not have this beautiful nature around, all the trees, plants and animals, which form an integral part of the ecosystem, food chains and food webs, based on which we are surviving and we are growing our economies and then building palaces and empires. So there is a give and take mechanism is there. So the forest laws will only guide us how the society, how the people should behave in order to develop or lead us to sustainable development. So that is the Forest Act. In 1965, the population of tigers in the country has touched a very low level. The lowest level of and I think about only 1400 individuals are identified as left surviving in the country. So the Government of India opened the eyes at that time and then said that the Forest Act which has been made is not sufficient alone to take care of the needs of the wildlife. So we need to form a separate act. So in 1972 they made a act called the Indian Wildlife Protection Act. So that is a landmark legislation and then enactment which has did a lot of contribution to the protection of wildlife and conservation of forest areas in their natural pristine glory. So as a consequence of that Indian Wildlife Act, a Project Tiger has been started. It's the most successful project ever implemented in the conservation field in the entire world. For the last 50 years continuously, 52 years, the Tiger project is running without any hindrance in the country, and our population of tigers has grown almost about 3000 plus numbers it has reached. So that is the kind of progress we made by virtue of one single act. So that is the power of legislation, and then people respected it so that we can restore the population of tigers. In fact, why we are so much enamored about tiger? tiger is considered as an apex predator. So in an ecosystem, if the pyramid is there, it is the top apex level. So in order to tiger to survive, the entire bottom levels have to survive. They have to be intact. They have to be regenerating. So that's how, if the entire system is surviving, then tiger will survive. We can't really take the tigers and give them protection as we do in the zoo parks. It's an artificial measure. But naturally, wherever they come, wherever they grow, they have to be protected. That's how the what is called Indian Wildlife Act has done it. Later on, the role of people has been identified and their needs have been identified. Indian government has come up with another new legislation called what is called Forest Rights Act. So those tribal populations and forest dependent communities which are living inside the forest area for over 75 years, more than 3 generations, and cultivating a bit of land, it will be regularized in their name, and they can even have a dwelling house also in the forest area. So that is a very, again, historical enactment, and then it has transformed the lives of millions of tribals. So that's how the protection and conservation and the livelihood needs of the people go hand in hand. So that is the way in which legislations are made, but they do make midterm corrections. And in the last couple of years, the Wildlife Act, Conservation Act, all these acts amended, so that with the needs of the time. The question what you said, whether they are adequate to meet the challenges faced by the society in the advent of climate change, definitely. So as of now, they seem to be all right, but there are certain amendments, modifications which are proposed by the what is called ecologists and the policy planners and the forest officers and all the stakeholders involved. So Government of India is under the consideration of making the required amendments. If the amendments are made, definitely we should prepare our societies for facing the future challenges likely to come.
Wonderful, sir. This is great. It's wonderful to see, first of all, how laws are established and in fact how laws are effective. Yeah. So it's wonderful to see that, sir. So now we are talking about two things, right? Biodiversity and wildlife. So we would like to understand more about what are different methodologies or methods that exist to do the protection, preservation, conservation you're talking about, please.
Very right. So basically, many people understand biodiversity means the variety of plants and animals. Then what is wildlife? Is it different from biodiversity? And what are their characters? So basically, with the evolution of time and then the civilization, the human population started taking some items, some plants, some animals from the forest area and started cultivating them as domestic animals and domestic crops near to their living habitations, the villages, the towns. So they became cultivated crops, they became domesticated animals. But the rest of the animal population, rest of the plants, rest of the microbes, everything is remaining inside the forest area. So when we refer biodiversity, it refers to the whole spectrum of plants, animals and microbes. When we talk about wildlife, whatever has been remained in the forest areas, which is basically living on its own, no regulation, no control, only self-regulation, and nature takes care of its own regeneration, and then it has got in its own systems of conservation, death, regeneration, the 5 elements from which the organisms are made after death. There are certain microbes like saprophytes are there. They degrade the entire dead bodies and carcasses into earth, water and air, everything, and disintegrate. And again, new plants, new organisms are born. That natural cycles occur. So biodiversity includes everything. Wildlife is that animals, that plant, that organisms which have remained in the native place of their own origin, and they are not touched, not disturbed, and they are the source for all our cultivated crops and all our varieties what we develop. Because you may be aware that in any hybrid variety or new seedlings we produce, they have their lifespan only for about 10 to 15 years, and afterwards they lose their genetic vigor. They are no longer, they produce the required characteristics and the kind of output they want, the value of nutrition, etc. So we need to take the source again, genes from the wild varieties of the cultivated crops. Similarly, the animals, we have to breed them. Then only the breed keeps on increasing and they be productive. So that is the difference between biodiversity and wildlife. So in order to protect the Wildlife Act has been designed in such a manner that there are 6 schedules are made, and in each schedule the list of animals is given depending on their occurrence status. So tigers, deers, sambars, which are very rare and endangered, they are put in different classes. Tiger is given schedule 1, and deers and sambars, the food material for the tigers, is put in the schedule 3. And those animals which are like wild boars and wild pigs and rats, and they are put in kind of vermin. They need not be protected. There is abundance of their population. So that's how this structure is made. And your another question is that another part, how the wildlife conservation happens, what are the methodologies? There are 2 methods. One is the in situ conservation, second one is the ex situ conservation. In situ conservation means wherever they are occurring in the natural setting, in the forest area, the entire area is declared as a sanctuary or national park, and then we protect the whole organisms present in that area, including the earth, including the mountains, including the water bodies, the plants and animals and everything. That is in situ conservation. Similarly, we made more than 300 sanctuaries in the country. About 100 national parks are there. Like that, there are several bird resorts are there. All these things are made under the Wildlife Protection Act. So that is in situ. Ex situ conservation is, it is the saving the gene pool for future generations. Kind of take some of these tigers, some of these lions, some of these hippopotamus, rhinoceros and birds, rare species, put them in zoo parks. Like in Hyderabad there is a Nehru Zoological Park, and in Vizag there is Indira Gandhi Zoological Park, and in Tirupati National SV Zoological Park is there. So these parks are made to showcase the biodiversity available in the forest area for the common people who can visit it every day and then understand the how the animals live, what is the lifestyle, and what is the need for protection and all those things in the zoo parks. That is called ex situ conservation. Basically these 2 methods are used for conservation.
Brilliant, sir. I think these methods are really well documented and explained well. So I will pick up one topic on what you presented earlier, right? We are talking about the endangered species specifically, right? So I want to pick on that. So we are talking about the habitat of wildlife shrinking day by day, right? And the human wildlife conflict is increasing. So sir, what are your thoughts on how can we reduce this conflict?
Definitely, that is the most relevant question for today, and especially everybody is responsible for this. And what I would request to understand is that we have encroached into the homeland of the wildlife, and we are illegally cultivating the land for our food needs. We are and taking their killing the animals, hunting them for the skins, hides and meat, etc. and medicinal value. We are taking away medicinal plants from the forest area. We have taken and over exploited plants like teak, etc. for the construction needs. So all this becoming rare and endangered. So there is a need for protection and conservation. So what we should do is that so we have to have a holistic approach, and then we should understand the entire ecosystem as a whole, and then we should let it function on its own, so that the ecosystem services can be generated perpetually. So when we also talk about biodiversity conservation and then human wildlife conflicts, when we are going more and more into the forest area, and then we are encountering more number of times the animals, and then people are because human beings are intelligent, they will kill the animals and they decimate the population in no time. But that should not happen. That's why government and the Forest Acts and the Wildlife Act prescribe certain guidelines. That means whenever there is a rare endangered species is there, that area should be protected. And then people should, suppose if people are living in that area, a small population, they have to be relocated just outside the protected area by compensating adequately without causing any hardship to them for their livelihoods, by supporting through the government schemes and programs, and they should be rehabilitated. Then the free space is available for the wild animals to survive. So if you understand, only 7 to 8% is declared as a protected area forest. That means national parks and sanctuaries. Even out of that also, very little portion is having biodiversity. So if you see this 7 to 8% of our forest area constitute about 1 or 2% of our national geographical area, total geography. So if the human beings cannot even spare 1 to 2% of the area to save the 90% or 95% of the species, no, we have no right to live on the land. So that is the way in which we should. Everybody who uses the sunlight, everybody who uses the what is called oxygen, who consumes oxygen every second, drinks water for life and eats food obtained from nature, must take initiative and interest to plant trees, protect wildlife and biodiversity. So this is very much important, and then in this part youth have to play a very key and significant role in that.
Thank you very much, sir. I think my next question was that who should be doing it and what's the role of youth? I think you answered in some format.
Yes, I have made a beginning. Basically, it is everybody's responsibility. Everybody has to take care of the nature and forest and wildlife, because we are users of that resource. So if you want to use anything, you must grow it.
Correct.
You must allow it to grow. You must cultivate it. So if imagine a forest without trees.
Yeah.
Imagine a garden without honeybees or butterflies, and imagine a sky without birds. So this is unimaginable.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, if these birds, these animals and these microorganisms are lost, we don't get food for eating. Like all the pollination is done by most of the plants by bees, and then butterflies, wasps and other things which we consider as a pest. They are considered as eliminatable organisms. No, and snakes eat lot of rats in the agricultural fields, and they protect the agricultural crops. So I heard that even in the godowns, 15 to 20% of the food grains stored is eaten by the rodents. So natural protection, natural solution is wherever snakes and natural ecosystem is there, birds are there. Birds prey on the snakes, snakes prey on the rats. So this is how the food chain and food web survives. So we should allow that to happen. Then it is everybody's responsibility to do that. But I feel that youth have the power, the creativity and the kind of mental energy and stamina, and also the resolve that future belongs to them. They must take care of it. They must protect it. So the present generation has done whatever is possible. The present generation is doing whatever is possible, but the baton has to be passed on to the new generation.
Yeah.
So therefore, the new generation should take care. That should be the leaders, not the backbenchers. Then only the society can grow into a resilient society, which can withstand the calamities and then come back to normalcy as soon as possible. So therefore, whose responsibility? It is everybody's responsibility. So that is the purpose for which I am trying to give the kind of information which is required to take a conscious decision, so that people will understand and then behave in an eco-friendly manner, change their lifestyles, change their mindset, so that future of the generations which are present and the generations yet to come, their children should not suffer future, because the climate change is causing a great impact on everything.
Yes.
So it is high time that we must take care of it. So David Attenborough, a very famous biodiversity scientist, he said the world has lost a lot of biodiversity, but still there is enough to protect it. At least the world should wake up now and protect it. And I feel that youth should take the leadership.
Yeah.
That's it.
Sir, this is brilliant, sir. Your passion, domain expertise is so infectious. We are all very, very inspired by your all the concepts you explained us today about wildlife, ecosystems, biodiversity, so much of education. What I love the most is the kind of bias towards action that you're giving to the youth.
Yes.
I think that's the brilliant takeaway for us. So viewers, this is Dr. Nalini Mohan Denduluri for us. Please stay tuned. In today's episode, we covered about how do we conserve our ecosystems. Our upcoming episode will talk about building ecologically resilient societies. So until then, please stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Youth Success Sutras and like, subscribe and share. Thank you very much.